With the body shell now with Dennis for repair and the engine with Paul, it's time to sort through all of the parts that are removed from the car and see if they are salvageable or whether I need to look at replacing them. If I can get all of the parts sorted now, then when the shell in the engine comes back, I can get to work putting everything back together again straight away. All of the boxes contain most of the pieces that are removed from the car, so I thought it would be best just to open a box, and whatever I pull out of the box first is the item that I work with. The dashboard instruments were in this box, and the speedometer is something that I'm really concerned about, because it's in a sorry state and ideally I'd like to try and reuse it. I'm wanting to install a wooden dashboard with a central speedometer, so it'd be great if this is savable. The other clocks I don't think I'll be keeping, as they're either broke or beyond repair. Now I'm not sure whether the speedometer even works, but before I look further into that I wanted to see if the instrument could actually be cleaned up, or whether I'd have to buy a new one, which I believe is over £350. I've no idea how it could have got this dirty, but it's full of insects, mud and flakes of rust. There was only one way to find out if it was usable, and that was to take it to the workshop, take it apart and see if it cleans up. The speedo itself was fixed into this pod by a couple of screws, or should I say one screw. Once removed, the clock just slid out of the pod, taking a lot of insects and crap with it. For now I'm going to concentrate on just the clock itself and examine the wiring properly at a later date. Ideally I'll replace the wires if I can, as the wiring on this car was questionable, and I'll feel much more comfortable if I can replace all the wiring for new. The good thing about making the videos is that I'm able to watch them back later to see where all the different wires go. Now I've never messed with one of these instruments before, so this was all guesswork. It looks like the chrome bezel is just held in place with the indents on the bezel itself, so I was hoping that straightening them up would allow me to remove it from the clock. I took my time just in case and I marked the location of the indents. If there was a chance of saving the speedometer, I didn't want to cause any further damage, so I placed it on an old drag and continued trying to remove the bezel, which took me a few careful minutes to do. When the bezel came away I was pleasantly surprised. Inside it looked in fairly good condition, apart from the insects and the dirt. Behind the glass was some kind of beveled ring, which looks like it should just lift out, but it wasn't coming out because of the indents on the bezel. So as not to damage the bezel when flattening the indents, I just put some insulation tape on a pair of pliers, which did the job, and the bevel ring just lifted out. Underneath was some kind of plastic washer, and then I could see that the glass was stuck down with what looks like a ring of sticky foam. The last thing that I wanted to do was break the glass, so I had to take my time prising it out very gently. After a few minutes it was out and the foam was well and truly stuck to the glass. I just used a screwdriver and very gently scraped the bulk of the foam away. With the glass lying on the t-shirt you can clearly see that there appears to be what looks like spray paint on the surface. I tried using sticky stuff remover on the paint but it didn't really have an effect. In the end I made a 1-to-1 solution of white wine vinegar and boiling water, and it wasn't long before the glass looked almost new. For the beveled ring I just used a dry rag as I wasn't sure if any chemical or water might damage the coating, and this cleaned up really well. The chrome bezel looked a mess, and this had signs of aging, but to clean this I just used some soapy water. It wasn't a perfect finish by any means, but it did clean up to an acceptable condition. For the face of the speedometer, I couldn't risk any sort of cleaner, so it was just a dry rag, and I had to be extremely cautious, especially around the needles. I also gave it a blast through with some air just to remove the dust and the insects. When everything was cleaned, all I had to do was assemble in reverse order. I was looking for some replacement foam online, but I couldn't find anything, so I took a gamble and used some roof sealer. It needed a steady hand, but it seems to have done the job. Then it was just a case of adding the washer in the beveled ring, placing the bezel back over the face of the clock and pressing in the indents. I've got to say though that this isn't the ideal way of pressing the indents back in, but overall I'm quite pleased with the end result. Does it work? I have absolutely no idea, but I'll give it a test run before final installation. But for now it looks like that I won't need to be buying a new speedometer, which is a bonus.